I'm James, that's Tabitha. We're going to talk about trash.
So let me
Yeah,
talk about this bitch just straight up. All right.
yeah, no. So it's like super boring businesses go, right? Where trash hauling is definitely one of them. And weirdly enough, so we can talk about like in general, where cities sort of franchise these things out to different companies, and with Tabitha moving to Portland and now experiencing what it is to like have actual different like trash flows. Yeah, dude, there's it's an interesting model, the trash servicing group that like for the neighborhood. No, like the play there for them is both, yeah, we're a traditional like trash pickup-y company, but they have all of the like knock-on effects of one, they have a state enforced monopoly, which is kind of cool. But they bid that out. I think it's every 5 years. I don't remember. But you have traditional trash, which is limited, right? It's every 2 weeks. So keep that in mind because if you miss it, it's a month, and that sucks. And then you
Someone's
have
getting trash in their trash can. Sorry.
yeah.
Sorry in advance. I don't know if that's a crime. If it is, I will not be doing that.
I mean, the church is down the street. Just throw it in their dumpster. It's fine. No, and then normal recycling, glass is separated out, and then compost, which is its own thing. And the compost bit's actually really cool because they do a lot of that. And then you can either buy it back or frequently they'll be like, we have too much. And then you can just ask them to deliver a bunch. And the magic compost fairy shows up and dumps a bunch in the street in front of your house. There's a similar program with wood chips too, where like because there's a million trees and arborists don't have anywhere to dump these wood chips, and so you can just ask them to dump a bunch for you. And I'm like in the neighborhood, there'll just be like somebody who has 45 yards of wood chips because you can't really tell them how much you want. You just tell them that you want some, and then they just magically appear. There is a pile, and as you come into the neighborhood, there's a pile. You'll see it. It's been there for at least a decade, but they've been chipping away at it every year, and it's just in the road. You're like, "Arr." So think about how much the street permits are really enforced.
Okay. That'll be
Yeah.
kept in mind. But I just find it so fascinating that it's a business. It's been broken down not to just into put your trash container, the end, which is what I experienced. It's multiple things. So now I feel like looking at the website, I felt so good about myself and my future. I was like, look at me helping. Because here you aren't helping anything. You're just going to the big burn pit in the sky. I don't know if they burned it. I know it's been on
They
fire
probably
once at least.
well, and you can get even farther along if you want to. Right? There are companies like Ridwell, which will take and recycle things that don't get traditionally recycled. So, like clamshell packaging is one that is tough for the mainstream folks to do because there's like different kinds of plastic and stuff like that. And then anything that's dirty, there's the extra step of you have to clean it before you can recycle it. And so there are the sort of like secondary levels. You can get much more intense about it if you want to.
I didn't even know about that part. And another boring business aspect that I didn't know about that also made me super mad
Mm.
is I spent several hours looking for the best deal on electricity because here you have to shop for the 900 companies that, are all coming from the one electric company. And that's not a thing.
No,
It's
there's just the
the
one.
fact that explain it so I'm not explaining it.
Yeah, no, there's just the one. It's just PGE. They again, like they're monopolies that are out there. It's vague. It's publicly regulated, I guess is the better way to say it. But there are, even within that, like there are different ways you can adjust how you want to pay for electricity. Right, when we were there, we paid the like renewables surcharge so that we would quote unquote like get money for or get electricity from renewable sources. But really, it was just like we were pumping money into their projects budget essentially. But it's offset by the fact that a lot of the electricity still comes from the Bonneville Dam, and cool, like hydroelectric's neat. It's not great for fish, but fuck them fish.
They can move.
They
Like
can
they
move.
can go somewhere else. They're selfish.
Nobody wants salmon that far up the river anyway.
Just a little we get fish out of the Gulf here, so I don't know if people look at a picture of Corpus Christi online, people. Maybe I haven't been organic for a long time now.
But yeah, no, I mean, there's a lot of. I think if you're going to start to look at boring businesses, right, you can look at an existing model and be like, what doesn't this cover, right? You think like the trash question, right? So you have on one end you have Ridwell, who's like, we're going to take your recycling that doesn't normally actually get recycled and do something with it. Cool. I have not done any research into that other than knowing it exists. And so I wonder how like cost effective it is to do that. But on the other side of it, like having recently moved and decluttered considerably, right, there was a little company that we worked with, shout out Frog and Toad in Portland, and they have a reuse first model for trash removal, right? So they go through the stuff that you give them if it's not in a bag. Like if it's in a trash bag, it's trash. But to see if people can reuse it. So like we had a bicycle that had followed, Tira for 25 years, something like that. Could not really be ridden anymore, needed a tremendous amount of work. And they were just like, yeah, either one of us will take it and rehab it and sell it, or in like in within the confines of this business, or they were gonna just take it to somebody and donate it. Right.
That. See, I
Yeah.
feel like there's so much with boring businesses, and I don't know if this is like me just wishful thinking, but I feel like there's so much more of an ethical line that is better. Like, I felt I didn't know there was other ways with electricity, and now I was like, I feel like I've been like swindled for most of my life.
Yeah.
Like, that is such a good business idea because I put so much stuff on the curb and I always felt bad because I'm like, it was just someone had to happen to drive by.
Yeah.
And
Well,
it would have been nice to, what about the people that don't have vehicles that need things?
yeah. Well, and they've got partnerships with a lot of the nonprofits in town where they can go and donate stuff, but they're doing, rather than showing up at, I don't know, Goodwill and just dumping all your shit on them, somebody is doing that sort of first pass filtering of, okay, like this could be donated, this should be trash, right? Don't give them your gross ass socks just because they were in the Goodwill pile. Like maybe they should be thrown away, but somebody has to do that sorting, right? And so they're making, my understanding is they're making money on the pickup one, and they charge the same as every other trash hauler does, right? It was not more expensive to do that, but they also do donations, and then to a degree they do resale stuff, right, where they have a little bit of that kind of like, we can generate some income on some of the cool things that people have thrown away, that people may actually want to buy used. And so that's like Habitat's Restore, right? Where like they go and get stuff and then they have a store and sell it. But with Habitat, you got to bring it to them. Whereas with these folks, they just backed it like a van up my driveway to the backyard, grabbed the entire trash pile, and we're like, later. But then it becomes a really modular business model, right? Because you can start to think about, okay, how many trash hauling companies are out there? So let's talk about like a private equity thing, right? I own Frog and Toad. I want to expand into, I don't know, we're going to pick the next city down, Salem, Oregon, right? It seems to be big enough that would probably support something like this. So you can either start up a new organization yourself, right? A branch office. Or maybe you're like, oh, hey, there's already trash hauling companies here. The model works well. I could buy one of them and just rebrand and see if like go that way. Or, and this is the one that like I tried to sell them on a little bit, you just franchise, right? There are people who want to do trash hauling stuff. There are people who are ethically aligned with you. Go for it, right? You make some sort of minimum franchise fee for the first few, right? But they get all of your branding. They get all of the like the know-how of like, okay, well, here are what these relationships are already, right? Here are the organizations that tend to take this kind of stuff, blah, 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 blah. And you expand that way. And then as you get bigger, you start to increase those franchise fees and people start to, you're sort of bringing that money in, but then you can sprinkle it back out, right? It doesn't have to be everything comes up and then it's siphoned off capitalism, right? You can use that to help reinforce some of these relationships. Right? You can start making donations to some of these groups. You can start, one of the things that they talked about was investing in educational programs around like, where does waste really go?
I feel
Super
so
cool.
old, but I'm going to reference Arthur. Had a whole episode about trash, and there was playground made out of trash, and I was like, that's might be where I learned about recycling and that
Yeah.
you can repurpose things. Like, that would be so, because I don't think Arthur's still a show, obviously.
They canceled PBS, so I'm assuming no.
Well, it's not a show anymore, kids. Sorry. Go buy it on VHS. So, boring businesses.
Boring businesses.
I'm trying to think of, so there's so much more. So trash, electricity, utilities. What's more day to day that you have to have that is so standard besides, I feel like the dentist, and of course, dying. Dying is a business. And I know we discussed this, but I mean, even getting in the dying swag, come on, people, get in that game. That's boring.
That's boring. I
Become a
mean,
tombstone graphic artist. You know what AI can't do? Carve a tombstone yet.
yeah. When you go down Seventh, you'll see there is still an old school mason and like sculptor cranking out tombstones in Portland. Super cool guy. Has a weird statue out front, but like whatever.
I'm
It's
down
Portland.
with the weird statue. I
Yeah.
have one that someone tried to take for me. So it's a lady looking like she wants to be in the road. And I was like, this speaks to me.
Yeah. No, I mean that's the thing of like you live in the world and you have to figure out what if you're looking for that kind of opportunity, right? Well, like even things like vending machines, right? It's not a thing anymore. 1,000,000%. It is saturated because everybody was like, oh shit, vending machines or laundromats or things that
Car
are
washes.
relatively low time intensive. Though those both actually are much more time intensive than YouTube will sell you on. But like people need to live, so they need someplace to live, someplace that needs to be like, they got to clean. So one of the things that I've seen some people talking about recently is like the consolidation of cleaning companies, you know, under things like Molly Maids or you know any cottage care was one that I've used in the past, right? But it's really hard for somebody out there all by themselves to make a living at it, right? There's sort of economies of scale that come along with, you know, lawn care is another one that does the same thing. You need a certain number to be able to pay your bills, or you can throw in with a much larger organization. And yeah, you're making an hourly instead, but you have consistent work. And that's sort of the big trade off there.
On that same like journey, I didn't know about this until I was here. The Who Gives a Crap brand. Have
Hmm.
you heard of them?
No.
Sponsor us, please.
Okay.
It's toilet paper, like bamboo toilet paper. It's sustainable toilet paper, but they also like this is what I've been looking at getting and greeting me at the door when I arrive. It's you order your kit, like your monthly kit of, you know, toilet paper, whatever you need for your household. You know yourself better than I know you. And then they have paper towels, they have sponges, they have all of these things where it's like a one stop shop of literally the thing you go in the store to get, and then you walk out and you're like, what was I here for?
Yeah.
And sustainable, and it ships to your door. And I was like, that's so much better than, yes, you can get, I don't know, whatever's in rest stops that's like the thinnest of tissue and save all the money.
The thought of toilet paper.
Yeah, like you can get that, or you can get something that's sustainable. You don't have to constantly. I mean, if you add up all the times you go into the store and forget it, like I will be dying of a cold and forget Kleenexes because it's just things you don't think about, like trash, things that go in trash.
Well, and I think the convenience aspect as well,
Yeah.
right? And this is a bit where I actually think there's a lot of room to add service lines to existing models of people don't want to leave their house right now. Like particularly Americans, but even as my experience of this wee part of Canada, like a lot of people are just getting everything delivered now. And so the ability to make something magically appear at somebody's house is going to be a big revenue driver, provided you can again scale it sufficiently to pay for itself, or you can partner with somebody who will do the delivery aspect of it for you.
And I mean, I feel like in this case, I don't know how, I'm not a toilet paper expert, but I assume it's not the most expensive thing to make.
I get mine at Costco because I have the space to store 10,000 rolls of toilet paper in case of lactose emergency.
Or we all experienced the great toilet paper crisis of 2020.
I remember running into the grocery store at like as soon as they opened, and they had, because it's Portland, they had a like the first hour is supposed to be for people who are like immune compromised or old. Like during, and I've got masked up the whole shebang, and I'm like I got to get 3 things, and like I morally excused myself because my partner's a physician. Like she's working in an ICU. Like I'm justified in doing this at this time because I don't want to get her sick. But they came over the loudspeaker and they were like, "This is really supposed to not be for you."
You don't know me? No.
But I gotta poop. I'm sorry.
I am very thankful that, so whenever, right before all of the everything happened, I'm living in San Antonio and these kids drove into the lobby through a brick wall.
Okay.
And because I'm a naturally very nosy person, I needed an excuse to drive past the lobby. And so I was like, I need to go get toilet paper. And it was prior to anything happening yet. And I was like, thank God I'm a nosy person. See, my nosiness paid off for us. But I just, Yeah, if I was getting delivered, there's the drawback. If I was getting toilet paper delivered, I would have needed a different excuse.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's the drawback generally of the atom. Now we're going to get into like the philosophy bit of this, the atomization of American culture, where everybody just stays in their house and watches their phone all the time. You miss out on all the great street theater.
Well, I feel like in a world that's so perfect, let me paint this picture for everyone. All of the annoying errands that take up your day whenever you go out, which I feel like makes the leaving your home part suck because it's full of nothing but errands. I'm going to the tax office after this. If that was able to be done or delivered, the things that you don't want to go pick up, then your time outside the home would be full of fun things like enjoying a walk that wasn't a walk to a place to do a thing, like mail a letter because people mail things. Children, no, I don't know why. I'm like 7-year-olds are watching this, but it's.
Well, even
I
just
feel like that would be the way.
I think even just the convenience of them being somewhat co-located, right? What is it, like a 10-minute city, a 7-minute city, something like that? Where there's the conspiracy theory that we're never going to be able to leave the like circle that is 10 minutes around your house. No, like it's just that there's everything that you want on any like normal day is roughly co-located with you. Like there's a grocery store. Like nobody's keeping an eye on you. And I can say this as somebody who used to work in urban planning. No, nobody cares. They're tired. They just whatever. Like they're not going to take away your car. It may be more difficult to drive places, but that's also just because parking sucks in cities. So taking public transportation is kind of nice, and as long as you're not doing it late at night, it's not sketchy. Like
how sketchy is sketchy? Like
I mean, if you're getting out of a bar at like 2:30 in the morning, it's all the rest of the drunks, and it's of course it's going to be sketchy. Like,
I don't
but
need the
on any
street
normal
entertainment
day,
that bad.
yeah, I don't know. Like on any normal day, like my kid would take the Max, the light rail line on school field trips. Like it's not sketchy at all. Like we took the bus frequently to the next town over for the farmers market, right? Or we take the train. Like not a big deal.
In
There's
that
just normal
blog,
city stuff.
I'm like, because like in that blog talking about
Yeah,
being car dependent,
yeah.
there's a huge thing also with leaving the house. If your little feet are free, if you have one, not discriminating against anybody who has no feet, sorry. But having a car also adds an extra decision of I should have locked these. This is going to cost. This is going to take time because a 5-minute city walk in San Antonio would be like a 20-minute drive. However, it's super nice being alive and not dying.
Yeah, you got to think about where you're walking too, right? And that's part of the other bit of, to get in to use Portland as an example, right? There are a lot of like tiny downtowns scattered around, these like little business districts. And so you can walk to a coffee shop, a couple of restaurants, there's a bar. I'm thinking about just like Brooklyn is the neighborhood that I lived in, right? There was a music venue, which was really, really good. There's actually two now. There's one that is just for country western, just for you. So you can go out line dancing every Tuesday night. But yeah, no, there's like the things that you want on a day-to-day sort of basis are around, right? There's not a grocery store in Brooklyn, but like it's not far. There used to be a co-op and it was very tiny and silly and I loved them for it. And they were like most small businesses terrible at managing money and things happen. But yeah, like there's all of these different ways to settle into a place and get to enjoy it that don't have this additional burden of I have to schlep a million miles to do anything.
With grocery stores, boring businesses, would you consider? I know it's technically, I mean, a grocery store is not exciting, but I feel like that can be so much of a clusterfuck. Would you put that in this is a great idea, or would you put that in don't do that?
Man, so this one's tough. Margins on groceries are tiny, so you have to sell in gigantic volumes. There are a handful of small grocers in Portland. So like Zebra was one, there were a couple of others. And so but you got to find margin somewhere. So you either go like the New Seasons route, which is bougie. No, it's not the bougiest. It's sort of Whole Foods bougie.
Okay.
Or you go the other way. I can't remember the name of the grocery chain, but even that, like it's employee owned, but it's like Aldi, but with all of the like anything that feels good about shopping there stripped out. So it's even like it's a warehouse and there's food in it, and but the people are paid well and they're friendly, and like again, like it's employee owned, they're getting a cut of a lot of these things, so people really like to shop there. But you're finding margin on the fact that it's not a pretty place to go, and so finding that balance and like which direction you're headed in. If somebody wanted to start from scratch, I would say no.
So this is not the boring business to do.
And so let me walk that back. Like if you're coming in having managed a grocery store and you know all of the things, you have actually done the thing, then yes, it is a boring business, right? People need all of these things, right? Obviously, this is a thing that you know how to do. Cool. Like there's a place to start from. But if you're looking to be an entrepreneur, sort of because you want to be your own boss, and you're like, I could run a grocery store. No, you can't. Not at the scale that you need to actually survive. The caveat to that being, what do you know? Like, what grocery individual item do you know a lot about? Right? Because then you can go very specialized, go very high end, and that makes more sense. Right? So there's, the super bougiest in Portland is Provedora, which is this tiny little market. They've got a fish counter. Like everything is 8 times more expensive than you would find at Whole Foods, but it's this hyper specialized, hyper high end, super fresh, and that's their marketing, right? It is quote unquote like the best grocery store. Like restaurants will partner with them to get specialty ingredients. Like that's their thing. So that works because they can make margin on hyper specialized components. Zupans is kind of the same way in that it's very high end. The shopping experience is supposed to be very high end, and they're located only in places that have people that can afford to do that. Right? There's one in Lake Oswego, there's one in like Goose Hollow. Old money neighborhoods essentially are their target demographics. So really dialing in what it is you're trying to do and where you can find a market that will sustain that. But if you're like, I'm going to start Winn-Dixie again, no. Like the Piggly Wiggly is like, those days are gone. Because you can't find the user base to support it, and you can't make enough on the margin, right? When your town of 8,000 people had its own Piggly Wiggly, like that was cool, but groceries were also much cheaper, and you could make margin on that, right? And it didn't have to be huge because the dollar had actual value. But now, like, you're competing against not just a store, but all of the logistical stuff that goes into it. Right? Costco exists because it's a huge monster, like logistical problem that they managed to solve by just having one of each kind of thing and making us really like it. And they don't actually make money, like as much money on the groceries as they do on the memberships. Like the majority of their revenue comes from memberships, or of profit comes from memberships, which makes sense, right? Because they're just charging you to be able to walk in the door. And yeah, there are a lot of benefits that come along with it, but like they're still making money on each of those memberships. And so here's your boring business thing. Selling the thing doesn't have to be your only revenue source, and probably shouldn't be. If you can gatekeep it a little bit, you can probably make more money by not having to extend to doing.
I like that. How would you apply that to, I'm trying to think of another boring business. I don't know, is Favor there?
No.
So Favor specialized in partnering with HEB, which is our grocery store god. There's the person who has like risen to the just destroying small businesses one at a time. But they have like the monopoly on, they partnered with HEB specifically to deliver groceries because people don't like to leave their house. And that was their main thing. Like, yes, they did pick up food and that happened. That was a thing that took place, but it was like, the drivers made money picking up these giant orders that they got a percentage of. So it was better, safer, you could say, to do that. But it was like, that was their specialty, was that. So how would you specialize?
It's the Amazon Prime model, right? You spend $100 a year to get to access so here's one, looking at food delivery, right? You can now through Uber Eats pay to have yours be the first one delivered. It's like an extra $5.
It's like, what is it, theme parks, like the Flash Pass or whatever?
Yeah.
Wow.
And you're like, okay, it's an extra $5, and my food arrives lukewarm as opposed to after 6 stops, very cold. And yeah, like there are ways to just add in a little bit of exclusivity, right? Or add in a membership cost that extend your business model, like bring in extra revenue without actually meaning any extra effort. because they're still going to deliver your food, right? But if yours is delivered first, and you can watch them, like that's a bit, and that was a whole bit of like crazy marketing that I didn't think about, was being able to watch your delivery driver drive to your house and like knowing where they are the whole time, and being like, and then having the frustration of being like, dude bro is making 2 stops on the way, and you're like, but I want my fucking tacos. Like, why aren't my tacos here now? I need instant gratification, but I have to wait for these other assholes. Like, of course I'm gonna pay the extra $5 so that dude bro just comes straight to my place. Like, that's genius in terms of just highlighting human impatience and monetizing that.
This is me finding out in real time that they picked up multiple orders at the same time and not just one at a time. So all the times I was like, man, he's really lost. I wonder what's going on, as I watched him like
Yeah.
zigzag
And that changed, right? From him just wandering around to them telling you about it, right? Because again, it's like when you have a flight that's delayed, right? If it just says delayed, you have no idea what's going on. You don't know how long that's going to be. You know anything. But when they add 45 minutes, bold-faced lie. Nobody knows. But like they just throw a number up there. You're like, oh, well, this is okay. Like I know what this is. Right? When they're making those additional stops, it highlights that like, oh, I'm going to have to wait more because other people are in my way. But there's a workaround for it because I can just pay them an extra $5 and like, what's $5? And all of a sudden my food comes straight to me and I get it quote unquote faster. I've not done any idea that it's actually faster or not, but it feels that way. And humans are powered by feelings. And so if it feels better, we'll pay more for it.
I am now thinking, and I hate that I'm going to admit this. So I got sucked into the, Primal Queen marketing of Great Landing Page. It's beef organ vitamins.
Mm-hmm.
And as you go through, you make your little purchase of your little subscription. Yay. And then it's like, do you want your package to be the first one shipped for, I think it's like $14.99. And I actually did not agree. And 1 hour later, I got the notification that my package had shipped. And I was like, it's all a lie.
Yeah, but there's the same thing, right? It's whatever percentage of people push the button is essentially free money.
I hate it and I love it.
Yeah.
Makes me so angry.
Capitalism.
I'm going to sit there and go through every receipt for like the last month and see how many times I've been had.
More than you think. I push the button, right? I push it and say I want it to get here first. We don't order delivery often, but I push the button because it is worth having my like tikka masala turn up reasonably warm. Sure. But it doesn't go to the driver either, which is the other bit, right? It just goes to whatever the delivery service is. But again, it's just for the same service, you get a little bit more money. And there's another boring business thing of like, what can you do what can you monetize that gets you a little bit more? And don't be greedy. $15 seems like a lot. But if that had been $5,
I guess also their whole marketing, I don't even want to talk about their marketing page because I'm so ashamed. The packaging is super cute, but it makes you want it faster. So like Uber Eats, where you get to see that your driver is not lost and actually delivering food. Man, it makes me so mad. I feel so dumb.
So it's
I have
brilliant.
to tell my child's going to be really mad because I'd be like, look where he is. But it's I was going to be like, if only Spirit Airlines did this, but no.
Well, that's about part of the thing, right? Like you can look at Spirit or you can look at, what's the super low cost one in Europe? I can't remember, but the guy wanted to like charge to use the bathroom. Like,
why can't I remember the name of it? Because I've listened to the
Ryanair. There we go.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Like of course you would monetize every piece of this experience, right? And you don't have to, right? Go to the bathroom before you get on a plane. You know,
unless it's an international flight, I'm not going to the bathroom on that flight.
Yeah, and and this is like from the purely capitalist perspective of like we should monetize every aspect of this. We shouldn't. You should be able to go to the bathroom. Bathrooms should be free and just a ubiquitous good.
Well, isn't that something that Europeans come here and they're surprised that like public bathrooms are free?
Yeah, I read an article recently about this because it was a whole push back in like the 1930s to make it be free because people were just like bathrooms should be free. And I'm like, yeah, bathrooms should be free. And there was a society for making bathrooms be free, and they had a newsletter called the Free Toilet Paper. It's a legitimate. I love it. Like the just brilliant puns. But no, like that's having traveled. Yeah, it's rarely very much, but you got to keep change on you just in case you got to go to the bathroom. Whereas here, I mean, more and more especially for businesses. I'm seeing people locking them up and being like, you got to get a code, which means you got to buy something. I wonder how that works with the Americans with Disabilities Act sort of things, but nobody's gotten into it yet. So
having been in Austin, I learned if you just ask nicely, they'll open the door for you.
Most of the time, people understand, dude, it's a bathroom. Like,
I guess
don't be
it's also
weird.
Walgreens, so it could be like a toss up of what's happening to your body that day.
Yeah.
They're like, oh no.
Do you want it to happen in the bathroom, or do you want to have it happen out here?
How do you want this day to play out? But monetizing your bathroom, that's the next one, everyone. Your next boring business
is buying bathrooms. So you could lease the bathroom space from a number of places and you could clean them. So that would be the sort of service aspect of it. So now these restaurants or, whatever, don't have to clean their own bathrooms, but you have to swipe your credit card to get in there. And then you could have surge pricing, right? Where it is just counting how many people are like using the bathroom and it just ticks up for each person. Or maybe you like swipe it once and like the first transaction doesn't go through and see how quickly they swipe again. And like, so now you can sense like how urgently they need to get in there. And then you can adjust the price accordingly, right?
See,
this is a bad idea. Don't do this.
I was like, there's something that I would totally, it would be with Alani right there, where I'm like, I know that bathroom's clean. And if I had a business, like a physical business, and I didn't have to clean it, I'm like, can you put a price tag on this?
Yeah. Well, and like you could set up a little camera that does facial recognition stuff and train a bot to be like recognize the signs of urgent need to use bathroom. And then you set your surge pricing around that. I can't think of there being a law against it other than if I ever find you, I will beat your ass.
Someone right now is making this business plan and getting funding.
And I swear to God, I will fight you. I'm just in the street right then.
So don't do that. This is a real threat.
Yeah, this is a real, I will like straight up. This is a terrible idea.
But like with festivals, like let's say you only did it during, like in the King Williams district, we had the Krampus festival. If you only did it for the Krampus festival, which your business is open late, it's not usually open late, and you only charge for that, like even that is like, that's a sweet ass gig right there. I hate that I'm like, I support this, but.
Well, you could take it another way and you could look at portable toilets, which is a very boring business and hugely lucrative. Like there's, I think, 3 vendors in Portland that do most of the business and everybody's driving a Ferrari. Like they make an ass pound of money. But if you were just doing festivals and then doing like upmarket, like portable bathrooms. So like when Tira and I got married, we rented one in a trailer and it had potable, like you could wash your hands with actual water and like the toilet's flushed. Like, but you could charge and you could be like, you can go shit in the plastic box or you could have a civilized experience, but it's going to cost you $3. Yeah, you have to do the math on that. Like, so you can charge the rental fee for it, right, to whoever the venue owner is, where they rent these things from you, and then each person pays a quantity of money to use it with the expectation that it's going to be very clean and it's not just a plastic box. Well, like you could even put air conditioning in it, like make it be a comfortable thing, right?
Like, what is it? The VIP upcharges.
Exactly.
Coachella, where the promise is you have air conditioned bathrooms, and I don't think that necessarily was the case this year, but they were supposed to be air conditioned. But the idea, like, oh my gosh, like that is a boring business. And then the ones that, so there's that, like this, like, and then the people that decorate porta potties, like
sure.
That is a boring business. We had a whole meeting for the art association specifically around should we decorate a porta potty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Ended up how much would you pay to have it done by somebody else, right?
If it wouldn't have been one of us, it would have been approved. I was like, I am not. Like,
yeah,
I am not. Draw the line there.
That's fair.
But like, I've even seen bathroom tours on Instagram of people doing porta potty bathroom tours. That could be your porta potty out there advertised for free. Okay, y'all.
Like maybe you do scan a QR code and you automatically post a positive review to something, right? Like that's a thing you can just program into it where it just grabs your Twitter handle or whatever and yeets a positive review of this porta potty onto your account.
Would potty here again.
Yeah. Best shit of my life. I don't know. Like
I just like, this is gold. Like, just write this down.
Well, I think from like a take on of luxury, sure, right? Provided there is still a free option available to people. But like now you're talking about monetizing biological needs, and yeah, you are offering an upmarket experience of it, sure, and you're also looking at things like, is it a captive audience, as festivals often are, or somebody who's already paying for an extra experience, right? Now you're like, okay, well, I can milk them for all they're worth, because if you're at Coachella, like, good times, but you're already paying $30 for a beer or something. So yeah, you're kind of on your own on this one, kids. Yeah.
So you're fucking up with your money, I'll tell you that.
Yeah. There are a lot of great music festivals that are still like $20 to get in, so don't make it weird.
But then you have, so like with the super, oh gosh, now I'm like, this has been put into cinema because, what is the name? It's an Anne Hathaway movie, and she falls in love with a young boy. He's 20-something. Let me rephrase that. Okay. He's 20-something. He's not like 12. But they meet because she goes into one of the trailers that ends up being his trailer, but they pay for the VIP, like, bathroom. Like, they pay for the VIP. They're expecting nice bathrooms. So she goes into his personal trailer, and they meet, and they fall in love, blah, blah, blah. And that's how she ends up dating someone, like, 6 years older than her kid. But this would be a whole lot less romantic if it was for... like just a regular,
but much more common.
But
be careful about what drugs you take, kids.
But yeah, I was just like, this is something that's even been put into TV, where it's like, this was able to be a romantic experience, not the alternative.
Well, and yeah, and if you're just looking at it from, here's a thing that people are going to want. They want to be comfortable. They are willing to pay to be comfortable. And it's frankly pretty straightforward in terms of the logistics of the thing, right? You got to deliver a thing to a site, and then you got to keep it clean, and then you got to haul it away, and then you've got to figure out what your dumping requirements are wherever you are. And that's a pretty straightforward business model. You just got to buy your gear and advertise.
You will need the gear.
Yeah. Well, and are you going to stay on site so that there's somebody sort of making sure that these things stay clean? Are you going to, like, how often are you going to visit? Having worked in construction, they need to get pumped a lot more frequently than they do. Because it gets real gross real fast in those plastic boxes. So yeah, like, what does service look like? What does, both customer service in terms of the client that's hired you to bring it out, right? How quickly can you respond? Right? Do you want to do anything that sort of quickly? Because then you could think about, like, all right, well, what does emergency management look like? Can I start to look at some of these, like, county contracts to supply urgent bathrooms in the event of a whatever, right? To a shelter system. And one of the, I know about this because I was on a county committee that sort of oversaw some of these things. And one of the companies in Portland has a contract with the county that, if something terrible happens, all of the thousands and thousands of porta potties that they have just get sent out into the neighborhoods. They just start dropping them off on street corners, and then they start servicing them. And I think the total contract value is in the tens of millions of dollars of, like, what they could make based around this. And then they just make a little bit of money each month not doing it in order to hold capacity for, like, if a volcano kicks off. Right? Or for some reason, like, there's no water. They're not doing anything right now. They won a contract to make sure that if they ever need to, they can drop 5,000 porta potties on Portland street corners.
Winning. That is what winning looks like.
Yeah. And they're still, like, just making, and so yeah, dude, boring businesses are great. Gross businesses are great. If you were willing to do things that other people are not, look at OnlyFans, right? A lot of those ladies are making the ones making money. So
we could talk about have a whole marketing episode around one lady.
Look, you got to do it somehow, and depending on what how you're willing to do it, and who's willing to pay you.
Well, it's like someone owns OnlyFans. Like, someone sat there and was like, I want to say, I'm trying to think if it started as that.
No.
Always, or it started, like, I remember people from...
It was supposed to be music.
TLC used to be on it. Like, the 90 Day Fiance. You could get more of the 90 Day Fiance experience on OnlyFans.
Yeah, it was not originally supposed to be pornography. And in fact, like, not long ago, they tried to make it not pornography again. And that didn't go well, because that's their core business model, whether they like it or not. But you can look at, like, Patreon, right? Which is run by a guy, I didn't know he was the CEO. The band is called Pamplemousse, and I've been a fan of theirs for a couple of decades now because they make fun sort of jazz music. But he's the CEO of Patreon, and they make infinite money because they get a tiny cut of all of these creators. And yeah, like that, providing the service of connecting people to creators in a way that supports a creator, and they're making some money, right? They're the payment processor. So they've got that, you know, if you're inserting yourself in the middle of the thing, yeah, like that's another way of doing it.
And that's I didn't even think about Patreon as your membership.
Right. And you're at a price point that you forget about. Right.
Yeah.
That's another pricing thing of I think I have like 3 or 4 creators that I send $5 to every month because I watch their content, and that's pretty cool. But I don't remember that I'm getting any sort of special benefit out of this because I just give them money and I want them to continue to make content. But I wouldn't remember if it didn't tell me every month that like I was making a payment.
That's true. That's key right there.
No,
your $5 mark, not $14.99.
No, don't be greedy. Get your free money, 100%. But as soon as you make it, if it becomes a decision, then people will say no. But if it doesn't rise to that level of like thought, yeah.
Where do you say that line is? Like, is the golden thing $5 now because you can't buy anything for $5, so it's free?
Yeah, that's essentially. I mean, I would actually make a note because I do want to do some math around that because I feel like there's a real thing there of what is that threshold value at which people are just like, yeah, whatever. Because it was $1 a long time ago. Like I remember that as being a thing when gas was less than $1.
We rode up on horses. We didn't even need gas. We were like, what's that? What's that 99-cent side?
Yeah. Well, like, you know, I remember like when everything cost a nickel. Well, like then that was the threshold value of like paying to play the game. And so yeah, if it may be $5 now. Honestly, I think it may be more just going on vibes. I have no data to back that up, but I would say you could probably push to like because you don't want it to be memorable either. $5 is just a thing, right? 10 feels like too much. 7 is memorable.
OnlyFans would probably have the exact number. I guarantee it because I feel like that's
what's the threshold value, the bottom threshold value for membership? Yeah. I would bet money. I'd bet it's $5.99.
$5.99.
Because now you're maximizing the value of 5 without. Because again, like 6 becomes memorable and nobody thinks about the following change.
Yeah. I hate it, but I love it. But I'm like,
yeah, there's a ton of stuff that goes into pricing science, and I'm genuinely like, but I really do think your example is correct, right? If we were to do a study around OnlyFans and what that bottom tier pricing was, I bet it comes out somewhere $5 to $6. I'm just like, this is an amount of money that I'm never going to think about.
Well, it's one of the, oh God, whenever you look at like kids going out into the world, OnlyFans is now, it's not like if you graduated high school and you turn to everyone, they're like, I want to be a firefighter. And you're like, I'm going to do corn because we can't say the other word. They would be like, oh no, James has gone down the dark path. Now it's like, oh, I'm on OnlyFans. Like, at a bar in Dallas, he had only Dallas, and I was like, that is so fun. No, he actually got only Dallas, and I was like, sitting there talking to OnlyFans guy right in the bar. But it was just, and look at him capitalizing off just being out in the wild wearing his shirt, because that was 3 years ago, and I still remember only Dallas. I do not subscribe. But the difference, because I watch YouTubes about this and like the science behind it because it fascinates me. Like, so the average, there's the people who make money and then everybody else, and the average was like $150 a year. So I want to know what their subscription price is versus the Mega Million ladies.
Well, and I wonder too, and this is something that definitely pops up on Patreon, are you coming in with a following? Right. And if you've already got a big following, and you're adding this layer to it, then yeah, you're going to obviously make a lot more money than somebody who's starting from scratch. And to be honest, probably not doing any sort of advertising, probably not doing any sort of like outreach, and is just winging it, right? Putting your titties on the internet. And so, yeah, you're not going to be successful at it. Right. But, well, you got to think, right? Every time one of these people who are making infinite money at it put it out there, they're putting it on all of the platforms in some less evocative way and drawing people to it, right? And they just have a lot of eyeballs that end up on them generally. So yeah, they're going to make more money. Right? I don't know that you can bootstrap an OnlyFans site
That
Like,
was an episode of Euphoria.
unsurprised.
I don't know if we want to.
That's good. I think right there. We'll call it. Don't, like, come on, kids. Like, porta potties are better.
I mean, I bet you make more money and eventually you get old.
Yeah.
Like, just saying.
Porta potties are forever. Let me tell you, man.
Yeah.
If you want a good, just well-paying gig for the rest of your life, get your wastewater treatment plant operator's license. Like, it's an associate's degree, and then you can just work. And like, I think starting pay there is in the 80s for like wastewater one. Like, you're never gonna make bank, but you are always gonna have a steady paying job, and
You'll make more than your friends.
you'll make more than your friends. So there's your actual advice for today. Poop. There's always money in poop.
Merch.